Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. We recognize that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Takaranto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat. It is now home to many First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. Thank you. I'd just like to, again, welcome you. Thank you for being here. The weather's holding out. That's just lovely. It doesn't always happen on these ceremonies. Regardless, it's just always nice to have people here to acknowledge this extremely important day that we share as a community. I'd just like to also indicate that the program for today's ceremony can be accessed online at go.yorku.ca/November 11. So I'd first like to introduce Philip Cote to give remarks and perform an honor song.
Ani buju tanzi sego. Anishinaabe Ajini Kajuan, Nojmon Muskogiash, Ngichi Manadu and Dodum, Mishapishu, Nin Anishinaabe, Shawnee, Lakota, Potawatomi, Ojibwe, Algonquin, Mississauga, Minnehik, Mohawk. That's my traditional acknowledgement and connection to my lineage. Today I want to share with you some important Indigenous kind of understandings of our cosmology and our understanding of our cultural ways. So today I'm going to read a Remembrance Day honoring. So, Remembrance Day honoring the warriors and veterans. We light this sacred fire to remember the hearts of our men, women, fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, and to honor these brave warriors who fell in battle while defending the land for future generations. Tecumseh, my ancestor, is one such warrior receiving a vision of the future that cemented his role to become a defender of Canada. Indigenous allies came together with the British to safeguard Upper Canada to protect what is now the country Canada. His actions continue to speak of the importance of a renewed leadership and vision of our united future, and our warriors continue to fight alongside Canada in World Wars I, II, and the Korean War and the Gulf War. The sacred fire, our connection to the sun, its cycles that shape the direction of life, and the changing seasons, a symbol of the 4 stages of life. In the east comes the power of life, birth, and the sacred waters. In the south comes the power of wisdom and the sacred winds. And in the west comes the power of the heart and the sacred fire. In the north comes the power of Mother Earth and her children and our return to her. The sacred fire represents the hearts of the living and our connection to those resting at the western door with our ancestors. The setting sun is a symbol of not the end, but the beginning of night, a time to rest and reflect on those we cherish. We see the sun come up every morning, and we remember our place within the cycles of life and death. The life goes on because of the sacrifices of those of us who responded to the call to defend our freedom and justice. Our sacred hearts, also known as the sacred fire, much of our understanding of our culture comes in this form of oral history about our ancestral knowledge through the sharing of what the sacred fire is all about. The main connection to the sacred fire is the grandfather sun that lights and warms our world every day. And it's this same warmth that our hearts pump through our bodies every day. The sun and our hearts are the same energy that lights the sky above us every day. With this deep understanding of our hearts, we know how our ancestors carry that message forward through each one of us. And the sun is our reminder that one day the light will go out just as the sun sets every day. Our loved ones may cross over into the spirit world, but we are here to carry on their legacy of a sacred fire. And in essence, the kindness and goodness in their hearts is remembered by us and carried on through our journey in life. Just as we go, so will our sacred fires continue on down through the generations to be remembered. Aho Miigwech Matakbias. And so I'm going to do an honor song for our veterans, and it's the remembrance of just the important sacrifices that they made so that we could all be standing here today with a sense of peace. Tonka Shela Wang Ela Wanka Tanka Heya Hoye Weyalo Taku Wanka Name Si Koyalo. Oh, Miigwech Matakias and Akishni Wikasa Tankashila Uyete Omi Mai Pilamai and Matakias and all my relations. So I'm going to put some tobacco into the sacred fire as an offering to the ancestors, an offering to the veterans. And I'm going to invite everyone here. I'm going to leave the tobacco up there. You're welcome to come and put some tobacco into the sacred fire. Miigwech, everyone.
Miigwech, Philip. And we'll reiterate the invitation that Philip just made to come and share the tobacco as we near the end of our ceremony. So thank you, Miigwech, Philip, for that invitation as well. I'd like to ask President Rhonda Lenton to bring remarks.
Miigwech, Philip. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, bonjour, bonjour. And a special thank you to Philip Cote for his powerful words, Miigwech. On this day in 1918, a horrific war that resulted in unprecedented levels of death, injury, trauma, and destruction drew to a close when the Allies and Germany met at Compiègne, France, to sign a peace agreement. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we mark the 104th anniversary of the armistice, the end of the First World War, and the inflection point in history from which Remembrance Day originated. Each year, York University joins communities across Canada honoring the legacy of those who have fought and who have fallen in military service of their country, the brave individuals who have served and continue to serve our nation, both at home and abroad, and in times of both conflict and peace. 7,000 First Nations people served in World War I, World War II, and the Korean War, along with an unknown number of Inuit, Métis, and other Indigenous peoples. Although Indigenous Veterans Day is officially commemorated on November 8th in Canada, we invite you to honor, remember, and give thanks to Indigenous veterans in this ceremony. Today, as on November 8th, we will be lowering the flags at our Kiel and Glendon campuses to half-mast. At 11 o'clock, we will pause for a moment of silence. I hope you will join us in remembering the sacrifices of the millions of courageous military personnel, past and present, who have fought to protect our freedoms, and recommit to honoring those sacrifices by continuing to work collectively toward ensuring a safer, inclusive, resilient, more peaceful world. If you take a moment to look around at the wreaths that will be hung shortly, they're over here at the moment, I want to share with you that the wreaths were ordered from the Royal Canadian Legion, where all proceeds from the purchase of each wreath goes to support the Royal Canadian Legion Poppy Fund in support of Canada's veterans and their families. Since Confederation, over 2.3 million Canadians have served in the Canadian Armed Forces, and over 120,000 have made the ultimate sacrifice. Today is also the 106th anniversary of the Battle of the Somme and the Battle of Beaumont-Hamel, where more than 24,000 Canadians and Newfoundlanders gave their lives. The Beaumont-Hamel in northern France honors all Newfoundlanders who served in the First World War. And it is the 81st anniversary of the defense of Hong Kong, where more than 2,000 Canadians joined in combat to defend Hong Kong, becoming the first Canadian Army unit to fight in the Second World War. The defense was a brutal chapter in Canada's military history, claiming more than 550 lives. Canada's brave veterans and military personnel serve as an important example of the power of individual and collective acts of service, and especially the responsibility of each of us to serve the needs of our local and our global communities. In a time where conflict continues to devastate countless communities across the world, from Ukraine to Ethiopia to Syria, we must activate this responsibility by supporting diplomatic efforts to achieve global peace and democracy, and by exploring new solutions that aim to guarantee dignity, security, and prosperity for each person. And so, as we come together in the act of remembrance, I invite you to reflect on both your own capacity as a global citizen, as well as the opportunities we have to drive positive change through York University, an institution founded on the principles of social responsibility, public service, justice, respect, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Thank you so much for joining us today to remember the courageous individuals who served and those who continue to serve to ensure our freedom. Merci, miigwech.
Thank you very much, Rhonda miigwech. I'd like now to call on Nona Robinson to read Anthem for Doomed Youth.
Thank you, Carol. Anthem for Doomed Youth. What passing bells for those who die as cattle? Only the monstrous anger of the guns. Only the stuttering rifle's rapid rattle can patter out their hasty orisons. No mockeries now for them, nor prayers, nor bells, nor any voice of mourning save for the choirs, the shrill, demented choirs of wailing shells, and bugles calling for them from sad shires. What candles may be held to speed them all, not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes shall shine the holy glimmers of goodbyes. The pallor of girls' brows shall be their pall, their flowers the tenderness of patient minds, and each slow dusk a drawing down of blinds.
Thank you, Nona. I'd now like to call on Steve Drantazaris to share High Flight.
This poem has quite a legacy, and if you're not familiar with it, I would ask that you check it out because it's got quite the legacy. High Flight is by John Gillespie McGee Jr., a pilot and poet who lost his life at the young age of 19 and is regarded as the first poet of World War II, with connections to Britain, Canada, and the United States. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth and danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark nor ever eagle flew. And while, and with silent lifting mind I've trod the high untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
Thank you very much, Steve. And now I'll call on Brittany Zecca to play The Last Post, after which we will observe 2 minutes of silence in remembrance of our fallen. Just before we begin with the laying of the wreaths, I'd like to ask two other members of our community to share thoughts and poems. I'd like to ask Angus Ho to read En Silence.
En silence. En silence, devant le monument, je pleure. Pour les jeunes soldats jamais revenus. Attristé, je comprends la douleur et la peur. J'essuie vite une larme à peine contenue. En silence, tête inclinée, je prie. Au son de la salve et de fanfare, du réveil et de la dernière sonnerie. Qu'il n'y ait plus de guerre nulle part. En silence, je pense aux morts, aux mutilés, et mes larmes coulent à flotte. Je ne peux veiller à toujours leur tombeau, mais le souvenir je peux garder. Sous un mélange de neige, de pluie, j'écoute les sonneurs, la batterie, le tambour, le battement de cœur, la pluie, les larmes qu'ils ont versées. Pour notre liberté, dans les tranchées, ils ont lutté. Pour notre liberté, le prix ultime ils ont payé. Dans les airs, sur l'eau, la mort les a ravis. Mais s'ils ne demandent en retour qu'une pensée, un souvenir, un merci, pour avoir épargné nos jours. La cérémonie est finie. La foule est partie. Une vieille dame courbée, toute seule est restée. Un coquelicot guide sur le sol, fiétri par la foule piétinée. De sable, de terre souillée, mais elles en connaissent le symbole. D'une main tremblante, desséchée, le coquelicot elle ramasse, puis le porte à ses lèvres gercées. Dans l'élan d'un souvenir vivace, se relevant tant bien que mal à son manteau. Fière, elle épingle le coquelicot, salue les soldats statufiés à mi-voix. N'oublions pas, n'oublions pas.
Merci beaucoup, Angus. I'd now like to invite Professor Walter Purcell to recite Act of Remembrance and ask that in between the stanzas at the pause, we share in the response, we will remember them.
The act of remembrance. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
I'd like to invite individuals to lay wreaths. Angus Ho, on behalf of the Canadian Forces.
In Flanders fields the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky.
Walter Purcell, on behalf of veterans.
The Lord still bravely singing flood, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days of birth.
Philip Cote, on behalf of Indigenous warriors.
The sunset glow.
behalf of York University students. Receptamir on behalf of York University staff. Parisa Safai on behalf of York University faculty.
If we break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow.
Hortense Valerie Anglin on behalf of York University alumni. Steve Drantazeres on behalf of York University retirees. Thank you very much. This concludes the Remembrance Day ceremony. On behalf of the university, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, merci, miigwech. We encourage, as both Philip mentioned and I said, we would reiterate all community members to approach the sacred fire, and you'll be given a piece of tobacco to place into the fire. And just before we do that, I'd like to ask Philip to come again to just share with us about Sweetgrass and the burning that will be taking place as well.
So just a small teaching here. I wanted to offer up a smudge if people wanted to come up and do a smudge before they put the tobacco into the sacred fire. And I'm just going to show you quickly how I smudge. And that's your way. You can practice this way or choose your own, but this is how I usually do it. So I clear my thoughts, my vision, my voice, my hearing, my body, legs and feet, and last and most importantly, I clear my heart, because I want to think with my heart. And something that you may not know about the smudge is that the smudge itself is a reenactment of the beginning of the universe. It's when that first light comes into the universe after the Creator calls on those signals back, and he asked that those signals be made into light, and that's when all the stars are born. So when you're lighting the smudge, it's a recreation of that moment. So oho miigwech matakuyasan.
Miigwech, Philip. I'd just like to acknowledge the presence of some of the university daycare children who will be maybe approaching the flagpole to showcase the Remembrance Day artwork. Thank you so much for being here. You are our future, and we entrust to you the call to n'oublions pas. Merci beaucoup.